What if the plastic bottle you threw away yesterday could become the most beautiful part of your backyard tomorrow? This isn't just about saving waste. It's about reshaping the way we see space, creativity, and even ourselves. Today, you'll discover 23 surprising DIY ideas that transform trash into peace, beauty, and life, right in your small garden. Welcome to Archon Aesthetic Studio, where design meets intention. This video is packed with visual ideas to turn what you already have into something you've always wanted. Use the timestamps to jump to what inspires you most, and feel free to comment if you have questions or ideas to share. And if this resonates with you, recreate it your way. Start small. Start now. Maybe I'm just another voice online, but this project is personal, created with real care, from a real home. Every subscribe helps more than you know. It keeps this journey alive. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for seeing the heart behind it. One, glow bottle garden edging. In the hush of twilight, when the last golden rays dissolve into soft indigo, something unexpected begins to glow, not from technology or streetlights, but from the ground beneath your feet. Along the curve of a humble garden bed, plastic bottles, once forgotten, once destined for a landfill, now whisper with light. Each one sits upside down, gently tucked into the soil like a secret waiting to be discovered. They shimmer in hues of mint, violet, and ocean blue, filled with phosphorescent pebbles that drink in the day's sunlight and give it back in the gentlest way. Their glow is not harsh, it pulses softly, like a firefly's breath, casting a dreamlike edge around clusters of lavender, marigolds, and nasturtium. This isn't about expensive landscaping. This is about noticing potential in what others discard. These recycled bottle borders are more than decoration, they're meditation. Each scuff, each fleck of old paint, adds to their charm. Their curved forms catch light and memory alike, defining space with intention, not cost. It's the kind of project that doesn't ask for perfection. Only your hands, a few saved bottles, and the willingness to slow down and craft something with heart. Want to recreate this serenity? Collect your bottles, rinse them well, and fill them with glow-in-the-dark stones or lead fairy lights. Paint them in shades that make you feel calm. Pastels work beautifully in natural light. Then press them into the soil around a circular bed, a winding path, or the edge of a tiny patio. The result? A glowing story that comes alive as night falls. A boundary that doesn't fence you in, but invites you in closer. This DIY is especially suited for small spaces, tiny backyards, modest patios, and container gardens tucked between walls. It's a gentle way to bring art and light into your garden, no matter the size. And when you stand there at dusk, seeing the bottles softly ignite as stars appear above, you'll know. This is more than upcycling. It's an act of care, a quiet kind of magic, a reminder that beauty often begins where waste ends. Two, DIY rustic fence posts with recycled bottles. the quiet corners of a garden where life grows slow and intention lingers in the soil, a humble solution rises, silent, strong, and sustainable. What you're seeing isn't just a fence. It's a quiet rebellion against waste. Each wooden post, rooted not in store-bought hardware, but in the base of a used plastic bottle, repurposed, filled with concrete, and pressed gently into the earth. The bottle, once meant for a single sip, now serves as a pillar of purpose. Its clear shell, scratched and speckled with time, cradles hardened cement like memory held in a vessel. It's a reminder that not everything used must be useless. In the first frame, the bottles peek modestly from the ground like buried treasure, anchoring rough-hewn wooden posts in a quiet arc along a vegetable bed. Each post stands tall without pretension, weathered, imperfect, and deeply human. Look closer. The earth around them is still fresh, not yet settled. A layer of mulch, wild sprigs of oregano, and the soft push of creeping mint wrap the base in nature's quiet blessing. There's something sacred about this kind of simplicity, about building something with your hands, with what you already have, and watching it last. This DIY project doesn't require power tools or perfection. Just a bit of time, a bottle or two, a small bag of concrete, and the belief that your backyard deserves beauty built with purpose. For small gardens or tight patios, this kind of fencing does more than divide, it defines. Not just borders, but mindset. A statement that form can follow function, and function can still be kind to the earth. And as the sunlight leans across the garden at day's end, casting long shadows across the posts and bottles below, you begin to feel it. The quiet pride of making something that matters. Not flashy, not factory-made, just thoughtful, grounded, yours. Three, bottle cap mosaic for garden wall art. In a quiet corner of a garden, where vines stretch lazily across aged wooden fences and the breeze carries whispers of lavender and thyme, something extraordinary blooms, not from the soil, but from forgotten plastic. A single hand hovers above a board of reclaimed wood. The fingers, deliberate and gentle, begin arranging bottle caps once destined for the trash. Red next to white, blue beside green. Each cap holds a memory, a picnic soda, a school lunch, a quick drink after a long walk. Now, together, they're becoming more than discarded bits of color. They are becoming a sunflower, a swirl of rainbow, a burst of joy on a garden wall. These mosaics aren't just decorations. They're declarations. They speak of patience, of purpose, of afternoons spent sorting plastic by hue instead of letting it end up forgotten. They invite children to play with color, to match sky blues with cloud whites, to imagine petals from caps. When mounted against an old fence, these cap mosaics create a portal of wonder. The flower doesn't wilt. The rainbow doesn't fade. They shimmer in the daylight, casting soft reflections on nearby herbs and mint leaves that sway nearby. They demand nothing but your gaze, and maybe a moment to pause, to smile, to remember that beauty can grow in the most unexpected places. For anyone wanting to try, the process is humble. Start collecting. Ask friends, family, neighbors. You'll be surprised how quickly the colors come together. Lay them out on recycled wood, glue them into place, and let your creativity shape a scene. Be it floral, abstract, or a playful swirl that dances like a breeze through the garden. And if you're wondering whether it's worth it, watch a child pause before it. Watch their eyes light up. Watch their hands reach out, curious, as if touching magic. That's the real art here, not just in the plastic, but in the joy it brings. In this corner of the backyard, trash has truly become tranquil. Not just reused, but reborn. Four, upcycled bottle Japanese water feature. In a quiet corner of the garden, where bamboo sways in rhythm with the wind and sunlight spills gently across pebbled ground, something subtle stirs, a soft trickle, a whisper of water finding its way home. This isn't just a fountain. It's a quiet conversation between reuse and ritual. What once was a forgotten plastic bottle has now become the heart of a Japanese-inspired water feature. Disguised beneath layers of stacked stone, wrapped in twine or hidden inside a bamboo sheath. Its presence is almost invisible, but its impact unmistakable. Water flows slowly from its narrow mouth, guided not by pumps or pressure but by gravity and care. Into a stone or ceramic basin it falls, tapping softly like a heartbeat, filling the garden air with a sound that soothes more than silence. Around it, ferns unfurl like green poetry, and moss blankets the edges like time standing still. And the best part? This calming piece of serenity is born from a bottle you might have once tossed without thought. If you're drawn to this meditative beauty, here's what you can try. Collect an old bottle with a sturdy cap. Drill a small hole to regulate the flow, wrap it in natural materials, and position it above a basin filled with stones. Use bamboo, weathered wood, or greenery to hide its form. Let it blend, let it breathe. You don't need perfection, only intention. This is the kind of DIY project that doesn't ask for skill, it asks for presence. It doesn't demand tools, it invites patience. As the afternoon light filters through the pergola, casting striped shadows across a narrow stepping path, the water sparkles, recycled, renewed, and quietly alive. A child might stop to listen. A visitor might pause and wonder. And you, perhaps you'll remember that even the simplest materials, like a plastic bottle, can help build something sacred, something peaceful, something that turns your small space into a personal paradise. Five, hanging vertical herb garden for tiny patios. In a corner where walls once stood bare, life now hangs, literally. 3 humble bottles, once destined for the landfill, now cradle oregano, chives, and parsley with pride. Dangling gently from hooks on brick, they transform a forgotten wall into a living pantry. It's simple, yet sincere. Each bottle holds not just soil and roots, but the promise of flavor, fragrance, and freshness. Just a few steps away, a bamboo backdrop hosts rows of upcycled containers, painted in soft pastel hues and filled with vibrant greenery. This vertical arrangement doesn't just save space, it turns constraints into creativity. It's proof that you don't need a large yard to grow abundance. You only need intention, a few discarded bottles, and a little sun. Look closer, and you'll find something more than herbs. You'll find a rhythm, the repetition of form, the softness of mint leaves brushing against the air, the faint rustle of time swaying when the breeze passes. A still life that is, in fact, very much alive. This isn't just gardening. It's design with heart. It's care made visible. It's what happens when function meets poetry, Practical tip. To recreate this garden, cut large plastic bottles horizontally, paint them with non-toxic outdoor paint, and pierce 2 holes at each end to thread a strong twine. Fill them with well-draining soil and herbs of your choice. Hang them on fences, bamboo panels, or any vertical structure that receives enough sunlight. More than a project, this is a mindset. When you choose to reuse, you choose to respect the earth. And when you plant something, no matter how small, you cultivate peace. First in your space, and then, inevitably, in yourself. This idea is especially perfect for city balconies, narrow patios, or even as a kitchen-side green wall. And perhaps the best part? Every time you reach for a sprig of fresh basil, you're reminded that beauty doesn't always come from buying more. It often blooms from using what we already have. So let these little bottles hang like quiet revolutionaries. Tiny, green, and growing. Proof that even what's been thrown away can rise again. Alive. Useful. Beautiful. Six, bottle lantern pathway for backyard evenings. As the sun begins to slip beneath the horizon and shadows stretch long across the garden, something magical awakens. Not from a shop, but from forgotten plastic bottles once tossed aside without thought. Now, reborn with soft glowing hearts, they guide each step along a gravel path with the quiet warmth of golden light. In one corner, a bottle lantern pierced with star-shaped holes flickers gently like a constellation caught in a jar. It hangs from a wire, swaying with the breeze, casting dreamy shadows across a trellis where roses bloom in the last blush of daylight. The glow isn't bright, but it's intentional. It's the kind of gentle illumination that invites quiet walks, thoughtful pauses, or whispered conversations under the night sky. Further down the path, shepherd's hooks carry a line of repurposed bottles, frosted and filled with solar or LED candles. They illuminate a narrow stone walkway framed by lavender and ornamental grass, painting the surroundings with subtle light. There is no harsh glare, only the soft suggestion of direction, like nature whispering where to go next. And at the heart of the garden, a graceful curve leads you to a weathered wooden bench, hugged by the fading sun and a border of bottle lights planted into the soil. Wildflowers spill color into the fading day, and the scene feels lifted from a dream, not because of grand design, but because of quiet creativity. This project isn't just a garden upgrade. It's a gesture of intention, a reminder that we don't need expensive materials to shape beauty. What we often throw away can be transformed into a guiding light, literally and metaphorically. Whether you're creating this path for your own retreat, to impress a guest, or to give a second life to things deemed useless, the result is the same. A backyard that breathes calm, purpose, and care. And in a world that often moves too fast, sometimes all it takes is a soft glow and a few quiet steps to remember how much peace we can create with our own hands. Seven, recycled bottle pergola vines trellis. Beneath a wooden canopy softened by the gentle embrace of vines, something extraordinary happens. Not just growth, but transformation. This is not a typical garden trellis. It's a symphony of resourcefulness, where discarded bottles are reborn as life-giving cradles for green tendrils to dance. Each bottle, once forgotten and tossed aside, now dangles with intention from the beams of a rustic pergola. Suspended by jute, filled with soil, and planted with trailing greens, they hover like living ornaments, catching the breeze, catching the light, and catching our imagination. Some cradle nasturtiums that spill with joyful defiance, others cradle tiny seedlings in their early climb toward the sun. In the foreground, morning glory vines wind upward around simple posts, guided by lines tied thoughtfully to bottle anchors. It's a system that's almost too elegant for its humble parts: soil, rope, rain, sun, and a bit of patience. But in that simplicity lies its magic. And when dusk begins to fall, and golden hour lingers like a whisper on warm skin, the bottles glow faintly, backlit by the low sun. They hang not just as planters, but as testaments. Testaments that beauty need not be bought, and that creativity needs only the courage to begin with what you already have. So let this serve as a gentle invitation. Gather your used bottles, your scraps of twine, and your hopes for green. Whether you live in a sprawling backyard or a modest courtyard, you can build your own trellis of transformation. Let your garden become a quiet declaration that waste is not the end of the story, but sometimes the most honest beginning. Eight, floating bottle planters in mini pond ideas. In the stillness of a backyard pond, where dragonflies skim the surface and koi drift beneath with gentle grace, floats a garden born not from perfection, but from possibility. What was once discarded, a simple plastic bottle, now drifts serenely, transformed into a cradle for marigolds, mint, and water-loving greens. Each planter, cut and shaped by hand, is a small act of intention. Some are painted in cheerful greens and blues, others left translucent to let the water's shimmer dance through them. Pebbles inside serve as gentle anchors, balancing buoyancy with purpose. They drift, but never stray too far. There's something poetic about these floating vessels. They do not scream for attention. They whisper peace. Like tiny floating islands, they reflect the sky and sun, gently bobbing with the rhythm of the wind. One carries bright orange blooms, their petals kissed with dew. Another holds trailing vines that spill like silk into the water. Together, they turn a simple pond into a living canvas, part garden, part dreamscape. And yes, you can craft this wonder too. Begin with a bottle, a bit of soil, and a plant that loves moisture. Make a clean cut. Balance your weight with gravel, and let it sail. What's beautiful here is not just the result, it's the process. The pause it requires. The care. The moment you crouch by the water's edge, watching your creation settle into its new rhythm among lily pads and quiet ripples. These DIY floating planters are more than clever reuse. They're therapy. They're sanctuary. They're the kind of joy that grows not from buying more, but from creating with what you already have. Let your garden float this season. Let it sway with the breeze. And in doing so, let your mind drift too, into calmness, into beauty, into a space where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, one bottle at a time. Nine, miniature bamboo fence made from painted bottles. In the quiet corners of a small garden, where the scent of marigolds floats gently in the breeze and morning dew rests like tiny gems on leaves. A curious sight emerges: fences that resemble bamboo, but aren't. These aren't ancient reeds harvested from a faraway grove. They are reborn bottles, given a second life, transformed by gentle hands and a touch of green paint. What once may have carried soda or mineral water now stands proud as guardians of garden beds, painted with delicate strokes to mimic the texture and nodes of real bamboo. Look closely and you'll see brush marks, intentional imperfections, grooves etched by time, or by a patient artist with a steady hand and a warm heart. They curve along raised flower beds and hug patches of soil where zinnias bloom with unapologetic joy. This DIY idea is more than aesthetic. It's a gentle rebellion against waste, a poetic return to nature through craft. The process? Simple, meditative. Cut and clean the bottles, paint them in layers, first earthy beige, then strokes of green, maybe a hint of fading to suggest weathering. Stand them up in a bed of soil, side by side like quiet monks in meditation, forming a soft, fluid boundary that blends into the garden's rhythm. In one corner, a round patch of herbs bursts with fragrance: rosemary, parsley, thyme, encircled by green-painted plastic posts so seamlessly camouflaged they deceive the eye, but not the soul. Between these humble bottle bamboo stakes lie pathways of crushed stone and rustic pavers, where the sound of watering cans and the hum of bees tell you, life is thriving here. This isn't just about fencing. It's about framing what we love, giving shape to our quiet sanctuaries. It reminds us that with intention and care, even something as overlooked as a plastic bottle can become part of something sacred. So if you find yourself with a handful of empties, don't throw them away just yet. You might be holding the makings of your next green haven, one painted post at a time. Candy-colored bottle pedestal planters. In a quiet garden corner, where laughter lingers and petals fall like whispers, a new kind of beauty begins to bloom, not just in the flowers, but in the stories they rest within. What once were forgotten soda bottles, tossed aside in haste, have been lovingly transformed into cheerful, candy-colored pedestal planters. With playful curves and pastel hues, bubblegum pink, lemon drop yellow, turquoise blue, they now cradle blooms of pansies, portulacas, and marigolds like treasured jewels. Each one a miniature goblet of life, elevated not just in height but in spirit. It's not perfection that makes them special, but the visible brushstrokes, the tiny scratches in the paint, the handmade charm that speaks of care over cost, time over trend. They sit upon rustic benches and garden tables, catching sunlight on their glossy surfaces, glowing gently with the pride of a second chance. This DIY idea is more than just a project. It's a celebration of joy through reuse. To make your own, simply slice a bottle in two, flip the base, and fit it beneath the bowl like a stemmed cup. Use non-toxic spray paint for vibrant color, and let your imagination go wild. Dots, stripes, even little painted bees or ladybugs for charm. Place them on balconies, tabletops, windowsills, wherever a tiny flourish of color might brighten a day. These little planters are perfect for kids too, who can paint their own and learn that gardening can begin with their hands and heart. So, let your backyard wear its colors proudly. Let it be a place where waste turns to wonder, and the ordinary becomes utterly magical. bottle fairy houses for garden borders. In the quiet corners of the garden, where marigolds sway gently in the breeze and thyme spreads low over mossy ground, a tiny door opens to imagination. It may only be a painted cap on a recycled bottle, yet when paired with a pebble path and a sign that reads "Fairies Welcome," the magic becomes real. What once was trash now invites tales. Old soda bottles transformed with nothing more than paint, patience, and playful wonder. Each one becomes a fairy house, standing proudly among alyssum and petunias, their rooftops painted like mushrooms or leafy domes. You don't need power tools or fancy skills. Just a brush dipped in color, a little glue, and a heart open to childhood dreams. Children love helping, painting windows, adding glitter, imagining who lives inside. Are they fairies with wings made of rose petals? Or garden gnomes guarding herbs at dusk? To create your own, start simply. Cut the bottle, invert the top to shape a roof, then seal it with creativity. Old buttons become doorknobs. Twigs form ladders. Add a tiny fence if you wish. Place them along borders, under trees, or even in planters. The beauty lies not in perfection, but in charm. These bottle fairy homes don't just decorate your garden, they transform it. They invite slow walks and soft smiles. They create a storybook trail through your backyard, one that speaks to the child in all of us, reminding us that small things, lovingly made, can stir big wonder. Let your garden whisper a fairy tale. Let it glow with the joy of upcycling and the warmth of handmade whimsy. Because every flower deserves a little company, and every soul could use a little magic. "12 bottle cap stepping stones for garden pathways." Some of the most poetic transformations begin where we least expect them, under our feet. Along a soft garden path, where time gently brushes your ankles and daisies peek from the grass, colorful discs of bottle caps rest like small medallions of joy. Once discarded remnants of daily life, these humble caps are reborn in a circle of cement, arranged like mandalas, suns, and scattered petals. A visual lullaby guiding each step. Each stone feels like a celebration of simplicity. Red, blue, yellow, and green caps form playful spirals, blooming hearts and radiant bursts, patterns that catch the eye and the imagination. What was once tossed away now becomes part of a peaceful ritual, leading you quietly from one garden corner to the next, as if inviting you to slow down, breathe, and listen to the rustling leaves. Crafting these stepping stones isn't just an act of reuse. It's a mindful creation, a process as therapeutic as the walk itself. A simple mixture of cement, carefully placed bottle caps, and a little time to set under the sun, that's all it takes. And yet, the effect is magical. Each stone tells a story, and no two are ever quite the same. You can tailor your designs to your own rhythm. A cluster of warm tones near a herb bed, a rainbow trail beside the children's corner, or earthy tones to guide the way to a tranquil bench. In the quietest hours, the soft light dances across the caps, highlighting textures worn by time and use, echoing the beauty of imperfection. And in that moment, walking barefoot over art you made from forgotten things, you may feel something stir, not just pride, but peace. A grounding reminder that with a little care, even the smallest discarded piece can lead us somewhere beautiful. 13. Tiered vertical bottle garden for small spaces. In the quiet corners of city balconies and humble backyard fences, something magical is blooming, not from the soil of the earth, but from the second life of plastic. What once cradled carbonated fizz now embraces fresh parsley and blooming pansies, reborn in a new rhythm of purpose and peace. Look closely at these tiered vertical towers. These aren't store-bought marvels. They're stories of transformation. Plastic bottles, lovingly halved, their edges softened and their bellies filled with soil and hope. A symphony of lavender petunias and lemon-yellow calendulas burst forth from each cradle, creating a tapestry of color that dances in the sunlight. Against a dark wooden fence, a simple pole rises like a spine of ambition, supporting an orchestra of herbs. Basil, with its sweet summer scent. Mint, cool and calming. Cilantro, ever vibrant. Each bottle is neatly fixed, each plant labeled, each root held in balance. And below them, a grounded patch of garden watches with quiet pride, knowing the vertical world is now just as lush as its own. In another corner, bathed in golden afternoon light, orange-painted planters cascade down a handmade tower. Strawberries peek through leaves like shy red gems, while wildflowers stretch their necks toward the sky. The structure rests on old wooden crates, charming in their imperfection, beside a pair of gloves, still warm from human touch. It feels like a scene from a children's storybook, but this is real. And it's reachable. This isn't just gardening. It's poetry in practice. It's the art of gentle rebellion against throwaway culture. A vertical garden tells us that space doesn't limit creativity. Only imagination can do that. Even a balcony the size of a yoga mat can blossom into something that feeds not just the body, but the soul. For anyone longing to begin, this is your gentle nudge. Start with a single bottle. Cut it, clean it, paint it if you wish. Fill it with earth and tuck in a seed. You don't need a sprawling field. Just sunlight, water, and the will to watch something grow. From trash to tranquil, it's not just a tagline. It's a reminder that beauty doesn't have to cost the earth. Sometimes, all it takes is a shift in vision and the patience to nurture. In return, you'll gain a sanctuary, built one bottle, one bloom, one breath at a time. (14) Smart bottle watering system for raised beds. In the gentle hush of a summer morning, the garden awakens, not with sprinklers or hosepipes, but with the soft, rhythmic drip of reclaimed plastic bottles. They stand like quiet sentinels at the base of each plant, inverted into the dark, generous soil, offering sustenance not in haste but in patient sips. Here, each bottle tells a story of transformation, a second life granted in service to something green and growing. Clear and simple in design, a tiny pinhole in the cap controls the flow of water, ensuring roots are never starved, yet never drowned. It's a whisper of hydration beneath the sun, consistent and kind. And the soil, rich and damp near the necks of the bottles, responds with gratitude. Lettuce leaves fan out like rosettes, tomato stalks climb toward the sky, and kale unfurls with vigor. You don't need a vast irrigation setup. No timers, no complex fittings. Just time, intention, and a few reused bottles. These humble vessels, once destined for landfill, become allies of resilience, perfect for the busy gardener, or those tending soil beneath sweltering heat. This method, though modest in appearance, has power. It conserves. It nurtures. It invites children to witness water's journey and teaches through quiet example that sustainability can be as simple as turning yesterday's waste into today's wisdom. Look closely at the beds. A small child walks with a watering can, not to labor endlessly, but to top off the bottles that do the rest. This is a garden that waters itself, that honors rhythm over rush. A place where the gardener is a guide, not a slave to schedules. So let the bottles gather again, not in cupboards or bins, but among the leaves and shoots. Cut them, pierce them, fill them, and let nature do the rest. Because sometimes, the best innovations in gardening don't come from technology, but from a deep, quiet knowing that life, like water, flows best when we make room for its simplicity. "15. Rustic farmhouse fence made with upcycled bottles." In a quiet pocket of the countryside, where the air hums with the soft breath of dawn and the soil remembers every footprint, a new kind of fence rises, not built from timber or metal, but from memories and second chances. This is no ordinary fence. It is a gallery of stories made from humble plastic bottles, once discarded, now reborn in delicate rows of transparency and earth-toned hues. Some are painted in soft farmhouse whites, others in sage green and dusty clay. Each stands upright, forming a rhythm of silhouettes that glow gently in the low sun. Tiny lights, like fireflies caught in a jar of dreams, weave themselves through the bottlenecks. Inside, nature's softest remnants, dried flowers, smooth river stones, and tucked sprigs of lavender, rest quietly. No longer forgotten, these bottles cradle beauty and become part of the garden's soul. The charm lies not only in the visual harmony but in the practicality. Plastic bottles, turned upright, make wonderful pickets for a DIY fence. Lightweight, affordable, and delightfully unexpected. This creative twist is especially perfect for home gardeners seeking something between sustainability and rustic warmth. Something that feels hand-touched, even if slightly imperfect. Tip for dreamers with fences waiting to bloom. Try mixing clear bottles with painted ones, letting light and shadow play across your garden borders. Add fairy lights if you wish to invite magic into your twilight hours. Behind the fence, rows of green grow strong. Raised beds brim with the season's best, lettuce, kale, snap peas, all enclosed within this upcycled embrace. At golden hour, the bottles shimmer like stained glass under cathedral light, and suddenly, the garden feels less like a backyard and more like a sacred space. A place where discarded things find purpose. A place where you can too. "16. Hanging bottle chimes for patio or gazebo." Sometimes, serenity arrives not in silence, but in a soft, melodic tapping, like wind dancing through color. On the edge of a quiet patio or beneath a leafy gazebo, delicate sounds drift lazily through the air. They aren't from metal or ceramic. These are upcycled whispers, from what once was trash, now transformed into gentle music. Clear plastic bottles, cut with care, softened with pastel paints, and suspended like notes on a forgotten scale, become something poetic. Some chimes end with cheerful caps, red, yellow, teal, clinking lightly like bells in a sunlit nursery. In one scene, a single chime sways by itself. It's humble, charming, crafted from nothing more than bottle caps and colored plastic strips, dancing gently under the gaze of a hanging basket nearby. It reminds us that art doesn't demand grand gestures. Sometimes, it asks only for imagination and the will to listen. And then there is the canopy of sound. A wooden pergola transformed into a gallery of fluttering lights and echoes. Rows of translucent bottle chimes hang like lanterns of memory, each one catching the morning sun, throwing gentle rays into the surrounding garden. Inside some bottles, marbles roll like treasure. Others hang bare, ready to sing with the wind. Beneath them, a weathered bench waits patiently, perhaps for a cup of tea, or simply for someone to sit and feel peace. You don't need much to create this beauty. A few discarded bottles, a pair of scissors, some string, a splash of paint, and time. Time to pause, craft, and breathe. So, if you've ever wondered what to do with those bottles piling up in your bin, maybe this is your invitation. Let your backyard be more than a space. Let it be a sanctuary of movement, of color, of soft sound. Let it be a place where the wind can play its own song. Because sometimes, the most beautiful music is made not from instruments, but from intention. (17) DIY bottle Japanese lanterns for Zen garden. As the sun dips low and shadows stretch like long, quiet thoughts across the gravel, something magical begins to glow. Along the meandering garden path, soft lanterns awaken, not store-bought nor mass-made, but born from forgotten bottles once destined for landfills. These are not merely lights. They are a meditation in form. Each lantern, a repurposed plastic bottle, frosted and cut with care, becomes a soft square of light. Hand-painted details in the style of shoji screens or bamboo motifs lend them a timeless elegance. When lit from within by a small LED or flickering tea light, they evoke the calm of ancient temples and the wisdom of still waters. Placed among mossy stones or flanking the edges of a raked sand path, they transform a backyard into a sanctuary. One where silence hums and every step feels mindful. If you kneel close, like a gardener tending bonsai, you'll notice the textures. The delicate paint strokes, the way the light diffuses through misted plastic, and how even a humble cap becomes part of the harmony. Creating these lanterns requires no perfect brushstrokes, only patience, intention, and the will to see beauty in the overlooked. Start with a bottle. Cut it with respect. Sand the edges. Paint the frame with the quiet rhythm of breath. Add a wooden base, a tiny light, and place it gently where evening gathers. Let it glow. Let it speak. In doing so, your garden becomes more than just space. It becomes an experience. An echo of Kyoto under starlight, or a whisper of quiet grace behind your home. And perhaps most importantly, it becomes yours. From discarded plastic, you've carved out peace. And that, dear viewer, is the true essence of turning trash into tranquil. (18) Seascape wall from recycled bottle caps. Beneath the whispering leaves and the watchful sky, there is a fence, one knot of wood alone, but of imagination. What once were scattered, discarded caps, forgotten fragments of yesterday's bottles, now bloom again, reborn into a vivid tapestry of sea and sun. Look closer. Each bottle cap carries a memory, now repurposed with care. 1,000 tiny circles form a seascape that could rival any painting. A tide frozen mid-motion, with ripples of aqua and cobalt rising like waves, golden sunbeams unfurling across a faded plank, and a school of orange fish dancing just beneath the surface. In the corner of the garden, a little one pauses. She points, not to the flaws, but to the wonders. A dolphin arches gracefully above coral reefs made from pink and crimson pieces, crafted by hand and heart. The old wood panel holding it all together feels like a treasure map, each nick a not a reminder that beauty often grows from imperfection. This is not merely decor, it's a quiet revolution. You don't need expensive tiles or synthetic murals to fill your space with story. A bag of plastic caps, a splash of glue, and a little planning can turn a dull patio wall into a vibrant celebration of ocean life. Think of it as a puzzle waiting to be assembled, every color a brushstroke, every shape a note in a coastal symphony. To start, sort your caps by hue. Oceans come in many shades, after all. Sketch your vision, whether it's a tropical sunset, a coral reef, or a scene from your favorite beach memory. And then, slowly, patiently, build. Let your hands guide you as the rhythm of the design reveals itself. It is more than recycling. It's a message etched in art, that even the smallest things, when treated with care, can become part of something far greater. These caps, once tossed aside, now form a mural that speaks, softly, powerfully, of second chances, creative courage, and the peace that can rise from what we leave behind. Let your garden fence become a gallery. Let your backyard wall sing with color. Let your hands craft not just a mural, but a memory, etched in plastic, anchored in heart, and open to the world. Because sometimes, tranquility doesn't grow from what we buy. It blooms from what we choose to keep, and what we dare to imagine again. (19) Upcycled bottle pond filter system. In the quiet corners of a garden where koi glide like silk through water and lilies stretch gently to the sun, there hums an invisible rhythm of balance. Beneath the serenity, a subtle trickle can be heard, a whisper of clean water returning to the pond, guided by the most humble of tools, a recycled plastic bottle. Yes, this is no ordinary filtration system. It's a testament to how something discarded can find new purpose in the heart of a garden sanctuary. Here, simplicity meets function in the most poetic way. A plastic bottle, once emptied and forgotten, is reborn as a guardian of purity, filled thoughtfully with layers of sponge, pebbles, and charcoal. Gravity becomes its only fuel. No chords, no noise, just a slow, consistent stream of filtered water tumbling back into the pond like a sigh of relief. Captured in your images are 3 distinct expressions of this DIY magic. One bottle rests on gentle wooden rails, clear and efficient, its contents visible like a cross-section of nature's own filter. Another is secured between bricks, shielded with green mesh, discreet but diligent, slowly dripping life back into a home for goldfish. And then, in a third image, serenity reaches its peak. A bottle lies nestled among smooth stones and fresh green ferns, whispering into a pond already stirred by a solar pump, sustainable, quiet, and wholly soothing. What's most wonderful about this project isn't just how it works. It's how it invites you in. You don't need fancy tools. You don't need professional plumbing skills. Just a clean bottle, a bit of patience, and materials you likely already have. Cut the base of the bottle, fill it with gravel, sand, sponge, or activated charcoal, and pierce small holes into the cap. With a little balancing act over your pond's edge, you'll have a filtration system that's gentle on the planet and kind to your fish. And while it does its job, almost silently, it teaches us something valuable too. That beauty doesn't always need to shout. Sometimes, it's in the unnoticed things. The quiet helpers. The ones we made with our own hands. Let this serve not only as a practical tip, but as an invitation. To slow down, to get creative, to build with purpose, and to believe that even in the smallest of gardens, a little recycled wisdom can keep the waters clear. (20) Bamboo-style vertical fence from bottles. In a quiet garden where morning light gently kisses leaves awake, a wall of bamboo rises, not born of earth, but reborn from plastic. At first glance, one might believe they are gazing upon tall, sun-soaked bamboo poles swaying softly in the breeze. But step closer, and the truth unfolds. These slender sentinels are not from the forest. They are once discarded plastic bottles, painted with intention and arranged with care. This is where creativity meets sustainability in the most elegant disguise. Each bottle has been tinted with hues of sage green, warm beige, and earthy brown. Black rings wrap around their bodies to echo the familiar nodes of bamboo. There's a soft imperfection in their surface, scratches, dents, and glints of their former life. Yet these are not flaws. They are the signature of transformation. Like aged wood or moss on stone, they whisper stories of second chances. Some fences enclose, others protect. But this one breathes. The bottles stand shoulder to shoulder, vertical and proud, forming a textured curtain that offers privacy without robbing the space of light or air. Between the gaps, trailing vines have found a friend, reaching and weaving like they would upon a real bamboo forest. It's a gentle reminder that nature doesn't mind our inventions, so long as we invite her in. At the base, lavender hums in the breeze, potted greens rest in harmony, and a pair of gloves lie quietly waiting for the next task. There's peace here, but also purpose. And the beauty of this fence? Anyone can build it. With just a few tall plastic bottles, a brush of acrylic paint, and a weekend afternoon, a blank corner of your backyard can become a retreat, a handmade haven. Add a bench. Let the leaves grow wild. Sit with tea in hand and know that beauty doesn't always come from buying. It often begins when we choose not to throw something away. So next time you hold an empty bottle, pause. Don't toss it. Imagine instead what it could become when guided by your hands and your care. Because even in the smallest garden, with the simplest tools, we can build something sacred. Something that doesn't just block the world out, but gently lets us back in. (21) Recycled bottle tool organizer for gardeners. In the quiet corners of a garden, where seeds meet soil and hands grow familiar with Earth's rhythm, there is a simple joy in knowing where everything belongs. And in this story, even plastic bottles, once tossed aside without a second thought, find a new calling. Rescued from landfills, They now cradle the tools of those who nurture life. Cut and shaped by hand, each bottle becomes a transparent pocket of purpose. Nestled along potting benches or suspended on warm cedar fences, these humble containers now hold the quiet essentials of garden life. A worn pair of gloves with flecks of old dirt, vibrant seed packets with promises folded inside, and clippers that have shaped many a stubborn branch. It's a subtle beauty, not the kind that shouts, but one that whispers, everything has its place. Look closer at the rustic potting table. You'll find 3 bottles fitted into a handmade wooden rack. They cradle tools and gloves like gentle keepers of routine, standing firm yet familiar. Smudges of soil and water stains give them character, signs of use, signs of love. Step into the nearby shed and the calm deepens. Light filters through a dusty window, illuminating a wall of carefully labeled bottles. Each is filled with twine, plant markers, small bulbs, and spare clippers. Their transparent bodies quietly display their contents, offering order without fuss. Nothing is hidden, nothing is wasted. Outside, another wall blooms, not with plants, but with practicality. Dozens of bottles line up in neat rows, fastened securely, each one holding a task. The names are written simply, yet they bring clarity and care into the rhythm of gardening life. A wall transformed, not by expense, but by imagination. And here lies the heart of it. When we pause to see potential in what is discarded, the garden becomes more than just a place to grow things. It becomes a space of mindfulness, of making do, of making beautiful. So let your next storage idea be gentle on the earth. Let it tell your story. Let it remind you that even the most ordinary object can, with time and intention, become something quietly extraordinary. "22. Glow-in-the-dark bottle path markers." When daylight softens and the garden begins to whisper under twilight's hush, something magical stirs beneath your feet. A trail of humble bottles, now glowing like captured fireflies. Once forgotten as waste, these plastic vessels have found new purpose. Quiet sentinels guiding the way through winding paths and into peace. In the first scene, an upcycled bottle lies nestled in blades of grass, gently glowing with shades of lavender and sea foam. Inside, tiny phosphorescent stones absorb the day's sunlight and release it back slowly, like a sigh held too long. This simple creation, using a clear bottle and glow-in-the-dark pebbles, proves that even discarded items can bring quiet wonder. If you lean closer, you might almost hear the garden breathing beside it. Along garden walkways, another approach comes alive. Bottles, once filled with soda or water, now stand inverted in tidy rows, buried just enough to stay grounded. Painted with glow-in-the-dark paint, greens, blues, and mellow golds, they flicker softly under a canopy of leaves. By day they blend with the scenery, subtle and unnoticed. But at night, they come alive, lanterns without flames, stars without sky. And then there's the full path, a moonlit serpentine trail lit by dozens of softly gleaming bottles. Each one marks the edge of a journey, an invitation to walk slowly, to notice, to feel. With solar lights dancing in the background and flowers sighing in the night breeze, it's not just beautiful, it's safe, sustainable, and soothing. You can achieve this without wires or fuss, only paint, a brush, and the willingness to give waste another chance. The beauty of this project is how approachable it is. No expertise required, just intention and a bit of light. You can use glow stones, LED tea lights, or solar strips tucked inside bottles. Secure them along the path using soil or small stakes. The more varied your bottle shapes and glow hues, the more whimsical the result. And perhaps the best part? These lights aren't just for your feet. They're for your soul. As your garden rests, these glowing guides stand watch. They don't just mark a path. They remind us that even in darkness, with the simplest materials, we can build light. '23. Bottle birdhouse for tiny yards. In the hush of early morning, before the city stirs and the sun spills gold across the rooftops, there's a soft flutter near your fence. A tiny visitor, wings dusted with dew, has come to rest in a home built not from timber, but from imagination. Who would have thought that an old plastic bottle, once discarded and overlooked, could cradle life again? Transformed with a stroke of pastel yellow and dotted in cheerful white, the bottle becomes a whimsical birdhouse, swaying gently from a wooden pergola. A small perch, lovingly fitted from a wooden dowel or twig, offers a resting place for finches or sparrows. Within, a cozy nest of straw promises shelter and safety. And it doesn't stop at just one. Lining a humble backyard fence, bottles reborn as birdhouses bloom like hanging art, each hand-painted in playful florals or bold reds and blues. Their charm is not only in how they look, but in what they invite. Song, flutter, curiosity. Nature drawn in by the care of human hands. From rustic wood grain paint to floral bursts that mirror the garden below, these DIY creations celebrate both artistry and sustainability. They are a gentle reminder that even small corners of our world can pulse with life, if we make space for it. Tips to try. To craft your own, simply cut a circular entrance, reinforce it for safety, and add drainage holes beneath. Paint with eco-safe acrylics, and always choose shaded spots that won't overheat in direct sun. Hang them at varied heights to attract different species and avoid predator risks. Not only does this project reduce plastic waste, it reconnects us with the cycles of life, nurturing something wild from something forgotten. If this video meant something to you, please know that subscribing means the world to me. You're not just supporting content, you're supporting a dream that keeps my family going. Thank you, truly. I'd also love to hear from you. What did you enjoy the most? Is there anything I could do better to keep inspiring or simply entertaining you? Your feedback helps this channel grow with heart and purpose. Let me know in the comments. I read every one.